All right, Jan, Benno, thank you very much for taking your time and inviting me here to CustomCells to showcase the competence that you bring to our European battery ecosystem. That's also the reason that I'm doing the campaign, in order to showcase what the companies in our field have to offer. But before we jump into today's topic, I want to shine light on how you found into the field of e-mobility and batteries.
So first of all, Simon, thanks for the introduction and the invite. So Benno, I just came into the field of batteries in 2009. Had the first contact there in high voltage battery systems. At that time with SB Lemotive, joint venture of Samsung and Bosch. At that time was a great time for the first check in there regarding batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, I started in 2012 with my diploma thesis in Braunschweig in the recycling of lithium-ion cells, and then made my way up the value chain until now, cell design and manufacturing.
Can you just picture the trajectory that you have been on the last years? Like, when did it start and all the way up to now?
So in general, CustomCells was founded in 2012. Jan and I, we joined in 2017 and 18, so just several years ago after the start. But at that time, it was just also there a niche market and a very small and a market, and also just regarding development and new technologies, something which was at that time just mentioned as a big commodity. Just all the cells will be sourced from China or from Asia. That's why it was just in the beginning of that phase in 2017 and 18. And then since then, we just also saw that there's a high potential regarding special applications.
Mm-hmm. So that leads over to the current portfolio that you offer. I mean, you're not offering per se products as such, but a product with a service. You're building custom cells, right? Can you explain that really quick so that people understand what the key innovation of CustomCells really is?
Yeah, I can try. Actually, I think USP of CustomCells always was that we are able to develop cells and scale cells on a quite high level. So really for niche markets, so translating the requirements from the market or from customers into cell concepts and materials, and then coming up with a cell concept that really fits the application. That is one part, and that is still one part, and will be also one part of CustomCells in the future, right? So we call it project business, really starting from scratch or from a certain base with a customer. But what we actually made in the last years is that we developed the so-called modular cell kit. So it's a construction kit for battery cells with pre-developed components, cell formats, electrodes, where we actually then can pick from and combine them in a new way to then have a quite fast and scalable product development, right? So first step to A sample is really fast, and that actually is some of the USPs. And with the base of this modular cell kit, actually we are now also looking into our own product. So we are not only offering a certain customer product, but maybe a market or more than one customer a product.
So I want to dive into that in depth later. But first off, let's also have a picture on the current situation and what you're currently facing. I mean, last week was a very pivotal week for CustomCells, I think. Can you, from an entrepreneurial point, explain how the current situation evolved? And from there on, we discuss from how you will proceed with the given circumstances. Benno, I think this is something that you want to explain on.
It's just also regarding last week's. I hope you don't have to beep it out everything. So just to find the right words here.
Yeah.
Because the last weeks, so during the insolvency, of course, this is a special phase, and nobody just also had this before. And also for all the employees, it's a kind of stress you normally don't have. So this was super stressful at that time. But we now found also a way, also together with our new investors, Abacon and Salvia, to find a way out of this previous insolvency. And especially for that one, we also have now the possibility just to start, especially what Jan now explained, into this new phase of CustomCells.
So to understand this a little bit more in depth, but I think it's very important for people to understand why this occurred, and just in brief, but then also what the different steps are that you go through, that people understand a little bit more, also the work that you've done the last weeks on what does it mean to go into insolvency, but then also to maneuver out of this. Because in Europe and Germany, we are in a very serious situation right now. And what you just experienced, I have visited a couple of companies that are in a similar, very serious situation. Probably not have reached that brink, but are close to that. So I think it's very helpful if you can give a little bit advice and build on your case, do you maneuver through that? Because you have maneuvered it successfully. Of course, there are collateral damages, yes, but nevertheless, CustomCell as today still exists.
We can give you a little bit also of the lessons learned we had,
Yeah.
and also about the phases you're just touching with. So just in the first phase or in the last phase of the old company, of course, you just need a very good cash planning, and you just have to figure out if you go into this insolvency or not. And this is very important with a very good controlling, very good aspects there of all your costs and all your incomes. So this is the basic for maybe a success also going through this insolvency. So you just need a very good and clear view on all your costs and all your spendings. And this is just a preparation phase. But sometimes you just then see time comes that you just have to go and you just have to jump into this insolvency. And then also using there and just select there a very good insolvency manager to do this. And then you just go into this insolvency. And then you always have, of course, then the spread between what can you just also discuss and what can you also then just openly discuss with your employees, because this is the mind in your company, and just also trying to bring as much as people with into the new company as possible, and also that you don't have to drain during that one. And then just in that phase, it's very important about how you just also build a clear picture of the next steps there. So a new business case, a business case which belongs also to your past, and then also we also have some customers with us, and during that phase, the customers still belong to us, and they also believed in CustomCells, and they were just with us. So also they had some discussions there with the new investors, and this was also very helpful during that phase. And then you just have to build a new business plan, especially for the case and for the surrounding you just want to go through, because the time is limited. You only have 8 to 12 weeks. We just had 8 weeks to solve all of this. So this was really a hard time, but nevertheless, to go out of this 8 weeks successfully also then depends that you just have the people on board, and also just all the people we had within the company through all the areas and all the departments, they just also believed in a restart and just to do it afterwards. And I think this was one of the success which is necessary, but the preparation phase, then going with the right insolvency manager through that insolvency phase, and then also have a very early good business case for the restart again. I think this is a main part of the success.
Yeah.
You also can add some topics.
Maybe to add. So the one of the most important steps in this process is actually this M&A process, merger and acquisition process, right? So that is also steered by the insolvency trustee at the end, and normally also covered by consultancies. But actually, that was one of the reasons why we then really start early. So what we managed together with the trustee, actually what the company managed and the management managed, is that we stabilize the company quite fast, right? So that they get all their governance over CustomCells, that they take over the control, especially for the financing streams. and then really starting this M&A process quite early, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like a normal funding round, right? So you explain the plan to potential investors, and sketch plans for the future, and then work with them together on how that can actually work out. And what Benno mentioned, I think that is really important for the restart at the end, is that we had a lot of employees that stick to the company, right? So normally this brain drain in this period is quite high, and not at CustomCells. That is really a big benefit that we have now for the restart. And our experience actually was that communication is the most important thing, right? Because it's for sure you are not able to say everything because of legal reasons, right?
Yes, of course.
And but communication and constant communication and transparency as far as possible was for us is one thing that was really helpful.
Mm. And what sticks out to me, what you just mentioned, Benno, and you said, like this trust that you have within or amongst your employees and going through that phase, but also to other companies, that they also in the direction of the insolvency manager and future stakeholders, giving your reputation, saying like, hey, this company is worth proceeding, and it would be a loss if this company wouldn't exist anymore. So I think it just underlines the importance of building a European battery ecosystem, an industry where we all know each other and trying to support each other. So thank you for this open conversation in terms of the entrepreneurial path that you're going through. And I think now it's worth looking into the future. And so let's come to the present, and from there on go on. And my question there is, what is your strategy now? If you would do the elevator pitch, what is CustomCells today, 2025?
So just also for the next phase, we're just going back to the roots with the addition that we just learned a lot in the last years, having Janis then telling more about all our technologies, etc., bringing these together, and just having still these special applications there, the focus there. There are, of course, some needs in medicine, in, for example, also for motorsport, also for defense, etc. So there are a lot of branches, and all these branches just they need cells, but also they need especially also they need an industrialized cell, or to be industrialized. And this is one of our main focus there, just focusing there on technologies compared with the customer needs, and bringing the customer need into the center again, and then just analyzing what's in the center of the customer needs, and out of that developing the technologies and bring them to early development.
Okay, are we talking about niche markets there, or who would likely be your customer?
What is a niche market?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's I think it's always about special applications. So we are not looking for being in competition with these gigafactories, right? That is not what we are looking for. We are looking for special applications that are underserved, right? And what we bring actually from also, if you say we're talking about the present, the important is what we bring already now to the table, because CustomCells is also in the last years we made huge progress in technology, right? So being able to produce and to develop on a really high maturity level, that were a little steps along the overall process chain that takes a lot of time, and that is actually what we already did. And for sure also somehow that we have professional structures. Benno already mentioned that financing, right? This is an important thing. Processes that we have in place that enable us.
I could
right?
see that. What you offer us in terms of technological know-how, production steps. But sorry, didn't want to interrupt.
Okay, but actually that's what we now bring, right? So what we learned in the last years, and what also structures we have already, because we are able to take a lot of employees with us in the new company, and there the know-how is, and for sure also processes are lived by people, right? And that is actually what we are able to bring, and that is the base, right? And from this base on, with the technology that we have in this construction kit, in the modular cell kit, we will prepare products for special applications, right? That could be mining, that could be motorsports, where you need a lot of power at a high temperature, for example. But for sure could also be defense applications where it's about safety, highest safety or something like this.
Yeah. So in this modular cell kit, one component is the chemistry, and then one is the cell format. What is the range of variances that you offer there? Let's start off with the chemistry.
Yeah. So our modular cell kit is based for sure on the key components, like I said, the formats, the cell format itself, the cell design, in terms of mechanical design and electrical. And then it's about electrochemical design. That is for us the most important thing. Key parameters: electrodes, so anode and cathode. And there we have chemistries available that are able to do really high cycle life, more than 10,000 cycles, for example. But for sure with a lower energy density. Then we can generate electrochemical packages that have this high performance impact, like really high energy density, more than 300 watt-hour per kg.
Okay.
Also in a 4-6 cell, not only in a pouch cell.
NMC based or high nickel?
NMC based high nickel, and then on the anode side we are silicon, right? We are into silicon to generate this.
Yeah, Lucas, explain me also a little about your experience in that field during our tour. It's really interesting.
Yeah, we gained a lot of experience in the last years with silicon, different silicon materials, what benefits and for sure also maybe drawbacks of certain materials are. And we also enabled ourselves to have process technology in place that is able to work with these sensitive materials.
Okay. In terms of cell format, so I saw a lot of pouch cells,
Yeah.
but not only, I saw also round and prismatic cells, and I think the round cells we can picture in the podcast. And maybe you can explain that why you're doing both and why also different pouch formats.
So pouch is something where we come from, right? Because it was customized or customizable, the easiest way. That is our base. And we also now have a pouch format that is really capable of doing these high power applications in terms of being thermal stable for a long time for really high C rates. So we are talking about applications with more than 150 C, right? So it's really a lot.
Yes.
And the cell actually at the end is able to be charged and discharged within 90 seconds. And therefore you need also electrical design that is stable enough. That is one format. Then we for sure have customer specific formats, right? You also see these really small cells. This is customer specific. Prismatic is also customer specific in this case. It's actually for a marine application where you need a lot of safety. And this is the format, the cell assembly, so the mechanical design and the electrochemical design is made for really high safety.
Okay.
Round cell, that actually we started 2-3 years ago. And there's a lot of development in this field. What we did, because bringing high silicon into a round cell is not easy. And
what are the limiting factors there?
So silicon has a high swelling, right? Also, if you have the highest engineering material, you always have the swelling. And in the pouch cell, actually, the cell can breathe quite good. In a round cell, that's not easy because the form factor is stable, right? There's no breathing of the cell itself, and therefore everything goes into the chemistry, all this breathing, all this swelling, and that is actually what leads to the point that it's quite difficult to design electrodes that are able to have this high silicon within a round cell, and being able then to have more than 300 watt-hours per kg in a 4-6 cell, right?
Yeah.
And that is why it's important to also have a round cell is actually because it's a standard format, right? And having differentiating technology in a standard format could be a good way to hit the market.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay. On the expedition, I try to understand the challenges, the potential, and my final question would be the call to action. So these are the 3 questions that I ask every participant of this expedition in order to get a whole perspective on our field. So I would like to ask both of you the question, from your current situation, what are the biggest challenges that are holding the European battery ecosystem back?
So maybe let's start. So I think the first topic is in believing yourself. So also having a really a good view on the future and believing exactly in this future. So this is one part, and I think this sometimes also is a little bit missing. So I think Europe is strong, and also all partner network. They also supported us during this insolvency phase. This is super strong, and we can rely on them. So this is super stable, but we also just have to come together. Maybe also limit some boundaries between us, going more into some collaborations. And this is something which is, my view, necessary also to make the next steps, and not the next steps just in some time, so quite fast. We have to do this now, and we have to do this in the next weeks, and not in next years or just someone. I think this is one important topic, and then about all the ecosystem about battery cells. Just for in our view, just to our suppliers, but also to our customers, and that everybody is also believing in that, and also that we don't struggle with just some decisions we make today, that we struggle tomorrow or next week, and that we will just will reject these decisions. So I think this is very important to grow up this ecosystem and also to stabilize it also in the next time.
What is the political role in that?
Of course, political stability, and also to give some requirements there regarding for automotive, for example, but also for other applications, and for us, especially also for special applications. Also to think about the whole supply chain, that it's important also from political side to give the right boundaries for the materials, but also for the cell as a component, but also for the application afterwards, to have the right boundaries, and that there is also a need for, especially for the whole supply chain there, to get it also from Europe, to get it from local suppliers, etc., and there to make the right boundaries and to set up the right things for the next years. So
So the bottom line is being fast, allowing to iterate fast, to get ahead. Would you like to add something in?
Yeah, I think for sure it's about being fast. Fast is the only way to do it is normally in collaboration. And that is not only a collaboration between industry partners, but also from the government side, right? So that is one thing, but we also have to admit that it takes some time, right? So it's not like you can just buy a machine that is maybe the best of the best, and then you have a good cell, right? But it takes some time to do the iterations that you need to come to quality and to yield, right? To make it also on an economical way feasible to produce cells, right?
Yeah.
And for sure, it's about being as fast as possible, but also admit that it takes some time to come to certain yields and quality.
Okay. So coming to the potential, positively framed, what is Europe unique about, and the competence that, for example, CustomCells, but also others in our field can deliver? From your perspective, what is the potential Europe can build on?
I think we have a strong industry background, right? And we have actually every partner now also in Europe that is needed for an ecosystem, right? And what at least I discover in the last years is that everyone learns about that making battery cells is not easy. So it's interdisciplinary. You need time. You need also for sure the right financing around, and that the need and the willingness to go into collaborations is higher now, right?
Yeah.
That is not only collaboration within the industries, but also with academia, not only about funding projects, right? So there could be other ways. And this willingness is something I discover now, and that is the huge potential we have. But for sure, also, we should not just stick into Europe. We should also look abroad and also work together with other countries to make sure that we are able to have our own ecosystem and to build an ecosystem that is stable enough.
Okay. Any particular countries in mind or continents?
So actually, I don't want to come into this political section now,
No, of
right?
course,
But
I
for
think it's
sure,
necessary to some extent in the current times
yeah,
to at
yeah,
least have an understanding of where we're maneuvering through and where there might be collaboration. Because you mentioned collaborations, right? And
yeah.
just the understanding of, okay, what China, for example, or South Korea or Brazil, like who would be a potential partner in this endeavor?
Yeah, I think there are some, right?
Mm.
When it comes to raw materials, for example, like you mentioned, Brazil, South America is a huge potential there, right? And then for sure, it's also maybe it's not the political stable side at the moment, but in the US there's a high innovation when it comes to new technologies. Then South Korea has a huge experience which is missing in Europe.
Mm.
And I think at the end everyone, also cell experts from South Korea, can benefit from a collaboration with European companies.
Yeah, yeah, and we have also on my tour I've seen many machines, for example, also from South Korea,
Yeah.
being installed in German or European production lines. So, yeah, I think this is important.
Maybe
Do you
just
want to add something,
to add one
Benno?
topic. You also talked about the ecosystem, but I think also about the learnings we had the last weeks regarding also their funding for startups, for example. It's super important also that we also have here in Europe the possibility for startups to grow and also to get fresh money.
Mm.
So I think this is also an important step. And the other thing is also regarding education in all the universities, etc. They also can plan with that. So this is more or less than also the support we also need from the government side, that we also have this that we have the ground to do this and also to grow up again with the startups, but also on the institute and university levels.
Mm-hmm. Okay, final question. If you would have one advice, what would you give?
One advice.
I would just say also based on the last weeks, believe in yourself and stay in that what you're believing in. Yes.
Yeah, hang on.
All right. Thank you very much, Jan, Benno. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to meet you here, to get all the insights on the battery expedition and have this experience and this understanding now of custom cells. And yeah, looking forward to what's coming.
Simon, thanks a lot.
Thank you.